Welcome to the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Podcast, where I help Christians over 40 maximize their health potential so they can age gracefully, live abundantly, and be thoroughly equipped for every good work. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, naturopathic doctor and biblical health coach, and this is episode number 145. Today's episode, I'm talking with medical researcher Rob Rene. Rob is the founder of a company called QE Strong, and his company uses quantum physical energy to promote health and wellness. Now, someone might be saying right now, well, Dave, I thought that your show was biblically based. Isn't it a faith-based show? What are you doing talking about quantum physics? Well, God created our world. He created the world that we live in. And our world is just simply teeming with energetic frequencies. Light is a frequency. Sound is an energetic frequency. The very fact that you can hear my voice and interpret the words tells us that we are capable of receiving energetic frequencies and interpreting them. So we shouldn't be afraid of energetic frequencies. It's part of God's creation. So I first learned about Rob when I listened to a podcast that he was a guest on about a year ago. And I said to myself at the time, this guy would make a great guest. I'd like to have him on the podcast one day. But then I started thinking about it and I said, maybe someone has a negative connotation attached to energy medicine, and I might scare off some listeners and somebody might unsubscribe from the show. Well, I've come to the conclusion that that's not the right approach because I've been studying health and wellness for 25 plus years. And what I want to do with this show is share what I know with you. Now, I've been wrong in the past. I have had to, when presented with new information, I've had to pivot and adjust my belief system as to what I believe is accurate and true. But that's a good thing because as soon as you think you know it all, then you've cut yourself off to any future learning. So I like to approach everything that I believe in with an open mind and be able to be objective enough to listen to the facts as presented and make the right conclusions. So that's what I want to do here. I want to share what I've learned with you, and what you do with the information is up to you. But I really think that you're going to enjoy this episode because Rob is a Bible-believing Christian, and he's very passionate about what he's doing. He's got a great backstory. I think you're going to enjoy listening to him. So let's jump right into my conversation with medical researcher Rob Rene. Today we have on the show Rob Rene. Rob is a frequency specialist and medical deception researcher. After a tragic accident ended his dream of becoming a world-class runner, he turned to formulating healthy, all-natural supplements and discovered the amazing world of quantum energy. He then founded QE Strong, a company that helps people recover their health without pharmaceuticals. Rob, welcome to Christian Healthy Lifestyle.
Hey, I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I've heard about you and your work and your company, and I said to myself a long time ago, I'd love to have that guy on the podcast. So here we are. We're doing it. It's coming to pass.
Yeah, I am so excited, and the more that I read your book, I've gotten through a large majority of it, and it's just I love the way you did your book. It's just such a pleasure because everything that I'm learning and passionate about, you've already written about. So it's really, really cool. So congratulations for all the effort and time that it took to put that thing together. It was great. I love the organization, and even the summary at the end of the chapters is just really awesomely done. So congrats.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that. When Rob's referring to my book, The Christian's Guide to Holistic Health, and I put bullet point summaries at the end of each chapter. They're short chapters. And I wanted to, there he is holding it up if you're on YouTube. But I wanted to make sure that people didn't get bogged down with too much information and they could read the summary. And if that chapter sounded of interest to them, they could go back and read the whole chapter. So that was the idea behind putting the summaries in.
Yeah, really, really, really well done. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
And it's just fun. The information in there is so amazing because we are mind, body, and spirit, and it's just like you don't people don't understand that, right? And
right.
So the way that you're looking at the holistic health is a lot different than most holistic practitioners, which I thought was a great call out of how you look at all natural health practitioners today, and they're all about natural foods and nutrition, not the whole body, right? So I love that you differentiating that because I 100% agree. I think God made us wonderfully and fearfully, and that our bodies are so incredibly complex and amazing. And I've learned that a lot through the quantum energy work that I've been doing and the research that I've done just unfolds that more and more.
Yeah.
So when I read your book, it just makes total obvious sense that you have to treat a person holistically, like mind, body, and spirit, and mind, body, and soul. What is that? It's I'm not
Spirit,
even
mind, and
saying it
body.
right.
The book says body, mind, and spirit, but
Okay, there we go. There
today
we
I'm
go.
going with spirit first because I really feel that's the most foundational.
Yeah, true. So, but I love that you need to address all of
Yeah.
those in order to treat person holistically, because
Yeah.
your spirit and your mind have so much control over your body,
That's right.
that people don't understand. Then
Yeah.
when you start to understand that, then and you can treat all three in unison. Oh my gosh, it's so much easier to help people transform their health and their lives. So.
Well, you're speaking my language here, Rob, for sure. One quick story I want to share that I shared in the book, and that is I used to do nutritional counseling, and it was a health coaching practice, and I called myself holistic back then, but
Right.
I didn't even know what the term meant. I was making the same mistake that a lot of practitioners make. I was natural, but I wasn't holistic because I had focused almost entirely on the physical, which is what a lot of natural practitioners are doing.
Yeah, most of
When
them.
we are spirit, we have a mind, and we live in a body. And if we want to maximize our health potential, we've got to address all three parts of the human condition, and that's when we're going to experience the most synergy and the most effectiveness.
Yeah, I literally absolutely love it. And
Yeah.
my story, just from a health perspective, started back when I was a young runner. Back in high school, I started being running, and I was surprisingly pretty good at running compared to my peers. And so I started doing a little bit of research, and I happened upon a book called Eat to Win. Right, and
Oh
that
yeah, I
book
read that
was
book. Yeah.
yeah, that was an amazing book,
Yeah,
right?
it
For
was.
me as a young athlete, to understand that what you actually put in your body, fuels your body, and so and that's something I hadn't understood, and I think that gave me a huge leg up on my competition as I did grow up as a runner, because I was able to learn how to fuel my body. So when it got down to the end of a race, I not only did I train right, so I had energy at the end of the race, but I also ate right,
Yeah.
and so I had the nutrition in my body to fuel it when it needed it, and help me a much better runner. So it kind of started early on,
Yeah.
to me understanding that that we are a holistic being,
Hmm.
and nutrition is a key part of it. But I haven't really spent a lot of time and effort on that my entire life, just until the last couple of years. And now, man, I'm diving deep into the pool, and I'm just having a blast learning and
Well,
educating
welcome,
myself.
and I'm glad you are.
I know it took me a while, but I was unfortunately a man of this world,
Yeah.
right? I got stuck into the daily grind that not most, but a lot of people in our world get into, right? I had a full-time job, I had a wonderful family, but I got into sports, watching sports. I got into gaming. I got into all these things that were in addition to my profession, in addition to my family,
Yeah.
that just took up so much time. I never had time to spend researching anything, let alone how to be healthy.
Yeah.
So,
Well, your
it's just
accident changed
crazy.
that, right? So let's hear about that accident you had. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So when I was that young athlete, I ended up getting a full ride scholarship to a D1 school. So I
Wow.
was making my way. My whole goal in life at that point in my life was to be a professional runner. So I wanted to make money running, and after college. And so I went to a school that helped produce professional runners, and I was so excited. I made the U.S. junior team, which is like 19 years and younger. I just got second place in the U.S. I was the second best miler in the country at that
Wow.
time. And then I ended up beating that same boy who beat me, or young man, I should say, and in an international race when we went on a tour, and won that race and beat all the other best runners from 5 different countries. So I was really on my way, I thought, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, my
Sure.
coaches are so excited about where I'm headed, and I'm so excited about where I'm headed. And that winter, I was out on a training run in Utah, and it was cold and icy and snowy, and all the roads were covered with snow, and we were out on a 10-mile run, and unfortunately I was out there, and my friend and I were running single file along this backcountry road, and he just said, I heard him yell my name, and I turned around, and he had jumped in the ditch, and I turned around and I saw a truck coming. Just said, ah! And I literally screamed. I said, I'm going to get hit, going to get hit. I had no chance to move, and hit me on my side and hip. And the 4x4 truck, threw me 36 feet. Ooh. So that's a really long way, right, to throw the human body. And then I landed right on my face. So this whole side of my face was road rash, and it was cut up all over the place. And then I was unconscious. So not a good situation. And during the run, I'd had a bloody nose. And so not only was I laying at the side of the road unconscious, my nose clogged my throat with blood. So I couldn't breathe. So unconscious, not breathing on the side of the road is not a good situation.
Did your buddy your partner, did he give you CPR, or what happened there?
Yeah, he literally saved my life. He knew that I had that bloody nose, and he could tell I wasn't breathing. So he literally unclogged my throat with his finger.
Wow.
And if he wouldn't have, I would have perished, right? So God has me, because of that whole incident, I really knew that God had me here for a reason, because I should have died that day.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And he, I knew he had a plan, and it's been a real struggle for 20 plus years after that accident. Just what is that plan, right? And what should I be doing? And so I thought it was to take care of my family. So I got a good, had a good degree from college, and got a good job, and started working in enterprise sales, selling enterprise software. But then I just got into the world, right? I got into doing the things that I don't think are real healthy now. I look back on it, and I think I made a lot of mistakes. I still love my family and provided for them, and I went to church occasionally, not real often. And then, I also got into what I call a really bad habit of drinking. And so that was a big part of my story is I ended up socially drinking ended up being every day. And in my enterprise sales job, one of the things they wanted us to do was to go entertain clients, right? So you're working with these professionals, and it's like, you need to go develop a relationship with them. Yep. You need to take them out to a really nice dinner, and the company's paying for all this. And then you need to take them out to the bar after, and you need to develop that rapport.
Yeah.
And so it just became, okay, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm doing my job, taking clients out, and then, come home Sunday and 5 o'clock somewhere, right? And I'd have a couple of drinks, but it just got to that point where I was drinking every day, and I did it for a really long period of time.
Yeah.
The Lord saved me from that again. I just literally woke up, was going to bed one night, and I was like, just really feeling really bad. I was overweight. I was out of shape. And I'm just like, why am I doing this to myself? And
that's probably a good chance for me to share the mission statement here at the podcast. And that is, we maximize our health potential by aligning our lives more fully with God's natural design for spirit, mind, and body. And of course, it's not a sin to drink, right? But it's a sin to be a drunk, right? And
that's right.
We're not supposed to be mastered by anything,
exactly.
right? And you were being mastered, and that would be an example of you didn't have your life in alignment right then, and it was detrimental to your health and well-being.
It was, it was doing good for nobody. I wasn't functioning the way I should have been, that he wanted me to be.
Yeah. So
the awesome thing is my wife and the Lord literally got me through that. I didn't want to join a 12-step program. I just said, Lord, I was on my knees and praying, and said, help me through this. I'm going to get through this, and I want to be strong, and I want to be healthy, and I want to take care of my family. And that was just like 5 years ago. So not too long ago that I'd done that. And it's been a wonderful journey ever since. I have just been on fire for Christ. I've been working really hard to understand the Bible a lot better, and just have that personal relationship is something I really never developed, and that I believe that I'm developing now, which is so amazing. It's so different than what I grew up, in church, of just reading the Bible occasionally, going to church occasionally, and understanding the Bible, but not having a personal relationship.
Yeah.
And man, when you transition and you get that personal relationship, your whole world changes.
Yeah.
And so now I really feel that he's leading me, and I'm just trying to listen and
Yeah.
trying to say, Lord, what do you want me to do, and how do you want me to do it? And he just literally directed me down this path of like, okay, you know how important your body is, and you're a great athlete. At least I was when I was young, right? I'm old now, so I'm not a great athlete, but I do have
Old
this
is a
ability
relative
to
term.
help people. Yeah, exactly. I think he really wants me to help educate people, right, and get healthy, holistically and naturally, in a way that it's just super fun for me now, because I'm so excited about it, so passionate about it, that that's my goal in life, is to get people off of big pharma drugs. Because when the big, I call it the second truck. So I had that initial truck that hit me, and then I recovered from that, and then I went through that whole period of drinking too much. But then the pandemic, I think, was like the second truck that everybody in the world got hit by,
Right.
and it affected me, in a way that it's like, okay, what am I here for? And so I started doing a lot of research, because I could see that they were vilifying people like yourself.
Right.
It was like, why are they vilifying all natural health practitioners who were just trying to help people, right? I know one doctor was like, take vitamin D, right? That's really good for your health. And man, they just attacked him like crazy, and
Right.
they were attacking all these doctors. I'm just like, there's something wrong with this picture. So I just started doing research on what was happening, and it just disgusted me the more and more and more that I found, because I started doing, I think that I want to implore anybody and everybody to do this themselves. Start doing your own research, right? Don't listen to the media, don't listen to the news, don't listen to the radio, don't listen to social media. Go do your own research on topics and dig. And when you start digging, you're going to realize that you've been fed propaganda for a large period of your life.
Yeah.
And this really frustrated me.
You know,
I don't
I
know
was
if you
listening.
felt the same way.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday. It's Dr. McCullough, Take Control of Your Health, and he had
Oh,
a gal
yeah.
on there that was a bioenergetic cancer specialist. She was mitochondrial health and all that, and
Awesome.
she pointed out. I just learned this yesterday, that when years ago you weren't allowed to put a pharmaceutical ad in a medical textbook, but today all the medical textbooks in medical school have pharmaceutical ads in them.
Yeah.
Isn't that tragic? I mean, talk about a
They're
brainwashing.
100% driven by money, right? And
Yeah.
the pharmacy industry is taken over, right? Big pharma is so powerful. They have so much money that they can control the media, they can control the narrative, and they can control all the health practitioners, in a way that's unbelievable. That until you literally do your own research, you're like, no, that can't happen. Like individually, I love our doctors and nurses,
Right.
and our health practitioners, right? They're trying to do their best.
Good hearts. Yep.
But at the end of the day, the system is totally set up for their failure.
Yes.
And it's disgusting. So, when I started doing all that research, that's when I was like, okay, this sucks. What can I do, right? I'm little Rob. I can't do a lot, but geez, I'm passionate about helping people. So I wanted to go craft supplements. So that's what I started looking at early. I'm gonna go find a good person who can help me formulate these supplements to help people.
Yeah.
And that was where I started. And
Yeah.
then,
Now I want to
a
talk about
gentleman,
supplements, but before we go there,
came to me. The formulator.
yeah. So before we go there, I want to just spend a little more time on this medical field thing, and that is,
Okay, sounds good.
allopathic medicine, Western style medicine that we've become accustomed
Yeah.
to here in the U.S. They're great with emergencies and acute conditions. Right? Get busted up in a
Sure.
car accident, man, roll me into the nearest emergency room, give me all the drugs and surgery you need to save my life. Perfectly
right.
appropriate use and could be life saving.
Yeah.
But when the emergency is over, that style of healthcare loses its luster, right? And if we have a chronic health challenge, we're far better off embracing a natural and holistic lifestyle changes. So could you talk to that a little bit? Let's say you're talking with a friend or a neighbor that says, well, that makes sense, Rob, but, where am I to turn? If I'm sick, I go to the doctor, don't I? So
Right.
what would you say to that person?
Well, that's the crazy thing is that's how we were all brought up, right?
Sure.
The doctor is that when you have a health problem, you go to the doctor,
Right.
and the doctor was the all being, all knowing, person who's going to help you with that particular problem in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's 100% different. That's not the last place, but I would not go to a doctor for a health problem anymore. I want you to start doing your own research, like I mentioned, and then you'll find people like Dr. McCullough. You'll find people like Dr. Edward Group and Dr. Howard Cohn, and yourself. You'll start finding people that have this mission in life is to help you holistically, not just to cure one specific problem, right? That's a problem with our medical industry, right? And one of the many problems is the specialties, right?
Right.
They're really good at fixing one problem, but what a lot of times what they do to fix that problem, they give you a pill for that ill. And then, as
Right.
you all know, listening to those pharmaceutical commercials, all the side effects all those have, right? Then you fix that one, but then it causes something else. A couple months later, you have some other problem, so you go to that specialist. And that specialist gives you another pill. And one of the things that just blew my mind was the average senior today in a 1 year period takes 15 different prescription medications.
Wow.
And it's just horrible, right?
Yeah.
It's pathetic. So
Yeah. One of the things to understand about that too, and this is a word of caution, is that when a drug is approved by the FDA, they'll compare that drug to the placebo in a clinical trial, but they don't compare it to other drugs, right? So, in other words, the people in the control group don't have another medication that they're dealing with. So when you start talking about polypharmacy here, where you're going from one doctor to another, and each one has their specialty field, and each one prescribes pills for the symptom that you're experiencing, that symptom might very well be the drugs that you're taking. And then they're giving you another drug to relieve that symptom, and then on it goes. You get a domino effect. You've got this polypharmacy, all these drugs that you're taking, but the drugs were never looked at as far as the safety data goes, how they interact with one another. I mean, not never, but for the most part, they're not considered that way when they're approved by the FDA to go to market, which is
That's right.
something to be aware of. And you gotta do your homework on that and talk to your prescriber about those things because it can be hazardous.
Yeah, it's really, really important. Really, really important. And that's why my whole mission is to try to get people to reduce their intake of prescription medication
Yep.
because we need to get to the point where we're treating the body holistically and naturally, with what God gave us rather than all of these pills. And that's why I founded this company was to help people start solving some of the symptoms and the issues with something that's all natural to kind of get their body back in balance.
Yeah.
And then you start figuring out what's causing the problem.
Right.
Right. And then I'm starting to direct people to ways to start solving the problem rather than just treating the symptom. Like, in fact, another crazy story about medications. My brother just visited a senior care facility here in Texas, and his mother-in-law is at that point where they're looking for places, and he was talking to the owner of that facility, and he said not only do the people in his facility that they average taking 15 prescriptions a day. Right, so it's not just
Man.
through a year period. They're in his facility. They're taking on average 15 different prescriptions.
What kind of facility was that? Is it a nursing home or what is it?
Yeah, it was an elderly care
Yeah.
facility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
just like,
well, we can
wow,
chase
right?
symptoms till the cows come home, right? But
Right.
until we go after the root cause, we're gonna be stuck. We're gonna be
Yeah, and the bad thing is that the people like yourself are vilified.
yeah.
In fact, I don't. When I was doing research on all this stuff back in the early 1900s, all natural practitioners were vilified. And guess where the term quack came from?
That
right?
was the
Quack
Rockefeller
came.
regime, right?
Yeah, that's when they literally were vilifying all of the people who were treating people holistically and naturally like you are today.
Hmm.
They called them quacks, right? And they
Yeah.
literally had a lawfare program where they were suing these all natural health practitioners for doing doing their job, and they termed them quacks.
Hmm.
And so that's where that term came from. When you go back and look at the original uses of that term, and it's just sick when you see how programmed it was and how our whole medical system has been changed over time. That the medical industrial complex or medical cartel is really there to make money, not to help people heal,
Yeah.
right? And so let's help
Yeah.
people heal,
I just had
mind, body, and soul, right?
yeah, absolutely. I just had Dr. Ben Rawl on the show. We just redid our recording yesterday, and his podcast is Designed to Heal, and he's a follower of Jesus Christ, and he talks a great deal about, hey, our bodies, the default setting is health, right?
Right,
So
right.
the natural practitioner wants to help you identify what obstacles are in the way. Why isn't your body thriving? Because that's our default setting. We're wired for health. And we find out what those obstacles are, get the obstacles out of the way, and the body has the ability, this innate intelligence that will heal and restore on its own. With
Amen.
no conscious effort on our part, which is just an amazing thing. And that's what
Amen.
practitioners in the late 1800s and early 1900s were really leaning on. And that is that innate wisdom of the body, this God-given wisdom of the body to heal itself. And they used things like homeopathy, and they did coffee enemas and, natural things that come alongside the body's natural processes and encourage those processes, get the obstacles out of the way, and just watch the healing.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, in the early 1900s, as you just so well said, Rockefeller, he had a lot of oil money, and he was looking for a good investment. And he identified the pharmaceutical industry as having a lot of profit potential, and they went after the natural medical schools, the homeopathic schools, and they started demonizing them, and one by one they started shutting down. By the late 40s and 50s, they were almost non-existent. But then in the 60s, things started turning around. People were starting to wake up and say, "Hey, wait a minute, maybe drugs are not the entire answer." So there's been a kind of a grassroots movement. And one of the positive things about COVID is that I think a lot of people are waking up to that idea now. That,
Yeah.
hey, there are alternatives out there. There's ways to treat this besides just listening to the medical dogma, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's
I mean, you can count. I can vouch for that. Right. That's me.
Mhm.
Right. Because I was in that boat where I was too busy, aka busy, to worry about stuff like that. When I had a problem, I go to the doctor. Right. And
Mhm.
I didn't do my own research. And then when I started doing my own research, it just made me sick to my stomach because
Yeah.
just is how bad it really is.
Yeah.
And so we need to educate people on how bad it is
Yeah.
because they don't understand. But you're right. I call it kind of the Great Awakening from
Mhm.
two perspectives. One, I think that people understand that God is really in control, and that people are starting to come to God and to Jesus like never before
Yep.
because of the trauma that was going on through the COVID period. But I think from a health perspective, you're right. I think people are realizing that hey, there's something wrong here where the government is mandating that you have to take poison and put it in your body when there's natural ways to treat
Yeah.
something. Something's wrong with this picture, and then you start
Absolutely.
realizing how much money they're making from it. It's like okay, something's wrong with this
Explains a
issue,
lot,
right?
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
does.
we could talk about this all day, but it is a limited amount of time here. So let's shift gears a little bit. Now, I know your supplement company is all about using quantum energy for healing. Now,
Right.
I know to a lot of followers of Jesus Christ, who people listen to this program, when they hear that term, they're like, "Ooh, this is woo woo. I'm not so sure about this. Is this biblical?" And can you tell us what quantum energy is and where it comes from and how we can use it to our advantage for our health and well-being?
Yeah, I would love to. I love talking about this because I think Satan is awesome at taking something great and twisting it and vilifying it.
Right.
And I think good frequencies are a great example, and quantum frequency is a great example, where he has tainted it and he has twisted it around. And a lot of biblical, Bible believing people look at that and they think that, oh my gosh, frequencies are bad because he's done that. But the wonderful thing is God made it all. Right, so God made our bodies in an amazing way. He made the earth, right, and He made frequencies. He made all of this. So this is all God-given technology and God-given things that He has created that we're just starting to understand. Yeah. So there's no reason that the Bible-believing people don't understand it, because this is all God-given, right? He made our bodies in such a cool way, all the way down to the cellular level. It interacts, our cells interact via vibrations. And those vibrations, guess what, are frequencies. So it's like when you start understanding that your body is made up of energy, and frequencies aren't weird. They're not woo-woo. They're everywhere, right? How do you communicate on your phone? It's through a frequency. Light is a frequency. Color is a frequency.
Sound is a frequency.
Yeah, sound is a frequency. How you're hearing our voice today is through a vibration and a frequency. Right. So when you start understanding, okay, frequencies aren't weird, and our bodies are made up of energy, and then there's good and bad frequencies, right? There's frequencies that are good for your health, and there's frequencies that are bad for your health. And what we've been able to do is harness really good, positive frequencies and figure out a way to apply those onto a patch that you can apply to your body. And when you apply that to your body, it connects to the energy system in your body. But the other thing I like to talk about, not only just frequencies, but intentions. Right? Having a physical intention and saying and declaring something is super important, right? Like we talked about with the mind connection, right? Your body and mind are really powerful, and your mind can control a lot of things, but the intention that you have over something has a big impact. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Emoto. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah, he wrote the book, The Hidden Messages in Water.
Yes, there we go.
There it is.
That's right. That's right. So that's one of my favorite topics.
It's fascinating.
I didn't
it's
understand
absolutely
this
fascinating.
just a few years ago, right? When I started doing this.
For the people that don't know, that is such a good book, because he's got these images in there that are just absolutely striking. They drive home this point of the energetic value that's contained, that water is very, very good at holding on to. Yeah, Rob's holding up the book now with a few of these just stunning images. Water is an excellent conductor of electricity. And so it holds on to these energies that Rob's talking about very, very well. And what the book is about is how he energized some water with positive frequencies and other water with negative frequencies. And the difference in the crystals that they made is striking. If you haven't seen the book, pick it up. It's worth a read and a look. I want to go back a couple of things that you mentioned there, Rob. When it comes to energy and how it's everywhere and it's all around us. This is one of the stories I like to share, and that is, if you don't believe in quantum physical energy, because it's so right in front of us that we almost can kind of look right over it. But I used to ask people this when I was in my health coaching practice. If two people were having an argument in a room, a heated argument, and you walked into the room in a quiet moment, could you tell they were arguing?
Yes.
Most people would say yes. You can feel that negative energy, right? Yeah. Another everyday example is, at the big sport event, this sporting event, the Super Bowl, let's say, the broadcaster is down there on the field, and they'll say something like this: "The energy on the field here is electric," and they literally mean that, because you've got 60, 70, up 90,000 people in a college game, and the energy that those people are putting out can literally be felt by someone who's really not even in tune to what we're talking about, that doesn't know as much about quantum energy as Rob does. But they know it's there, and they talk about it. Same thing with your dog. If you've ever owned a dog, I mean, sometimes your dog will go up to someone and greet them in a loving, kind way, and other times they'll just growl, right? Because the dog is in tune to that person's energy. It's like a sixth sense that the dogs have. So, I just wanted to throw those out there as, as evidence that
Yeah,
what Rob's talking about here is real, folks. This is not woo woo. And it's all, as you said, Rob, God created it all, right?
exactly.
He thought all this up. He's the one that thought up the sun, which is a giant nuclear fusion reactor. Talk about energy, right? He thought that up. And we're just discovering it, right?
That's right.
He
That's right.
created all of this. It's based in truth. It's based in physical laws, based in moral laws. His truths stand forever. And we're just discovering these truths now. And so I'm sorry I interrupted you, but go ahead and
No, I think thank you, because I think you're right. I mean, I just love the way that you're expanding on it, because it's so accurate. And the reason I was talking about Dr. Emoto, those intentions, because it's really important to our product. So not only do we encode the frequency, the positive frequency, we also include the positive intention related to the problem. And then the third aspect we put into the product, which is I love the most, is we literally put 40 Bible verses onto the patches as well. So we encode those. We digitize the word, obviously, and then we, just like a computer chip can hold information, these little patches, they're really small. They're about the size of a quarter. But on the top of them, we spray this structure that can hold information. And so it will hold those three things. It'll hold a frequency, it holds the intention, and it holds the Bible verses. And so when you apply it to your body, it connects to that energy system in your body. And you have that positive frequency, that positive intention, and the Bible verses that are flowing through the energy system in your body. So it's really transformational. It's just helping people so much that it's really incredible. And then we combine it with a prayer guide, because not only, like you mentioned, the mind, body, spirit connection is so powerful that we want you to be literally reading the prayer. So you're saying it out loud, you're using your eyes to read it, and you're declaring it, and you're talking, communicating with the Lord, and your ears are hearing yourself saying it. So using three senses there, plus the patch is the fourth sense, using 4 out of your 5 God-given senses to help you with your problem. Let's take pain as the problem that you're trying to resolve. Our pain patch has all that information in it. We customize the prayer guide, and we customize the Bible verses on it. We customize the intentions on it. We customize the frequency on it for the specific problem. And then when you apply it to your body, it basically interrupts the signal from your pain to your brain. So then you all of a sudden, over a period of time, sometimes it's really quick, sometimes it's like seconds, sometimes minutes, sometimes days, for it to actually help. Mm-hmm. Depends on the source of the problem. And like you mentioned, there's lots of reasons why people are in different chronic issues and or have pain. And but the cool thing about it is it starts working, and then your body becomes much more in balance because it's not dealing with that stress. And so that's where I was mentioning, we want to get people kind of into balance. And then once we get them into balance, then their body can start healing. And then I want to start working on the cause. Like, what's causing that pain? Right now that you can function and you can go play with your grandchildren, and you can get out of bed, and you can have a much more functional day by using our patch, then let's start working on how we can go find the source of the problem.
Yeah.
That
so,
makes
Rob,
sense?
does it matter where you put the patch? I mean, would you put it always in the back of your neck? Or if I was having, let's say, a tennis elbow, would I put the patch on my elbow?
Yeah, the cool thing about it, like I like to explain it, is there's a yes and yes because
Okay.
you can put it anywhere, because your body is all made up of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So when you apply it to your neck, it connects to the energy system throughout your body. Like when you stick your finger in electrified water, it's electric everywhere, right?
Yes.
But people with their mind say, my elbow hurts, and you put it on your elbow, your mind says it's going to help me better by putting it on my elbow.
Yeah.
And if that connection is important, do it, right? I don't want anybody to ever not do what they think is going to help them better. So technically, it doesn't need to go anywhere other than on their body. But if you have a foot that hurts, put it on your foot. If you have elbow that hurts, put it on your elbow if you think that's going to help. Try it on your back. and see if it helps the same way. I
I
found,
really
me
like this,
personally,
Rob.
it works the same way.
This is such a great concept, and I talk about this in the book in the section on the mind about the placebo effect and the nocebo effect.
Right.
And anytime a drug is doing a clinical trial, pharmaceutical companies trying to get a drug approved, there'll be a certain percentage of the people in that trial that will receive the sugar pill or the saline solution, and they'll actually experience the desired outcome that drug is purported to elicit. And then there's the nocebo, where people will get the sugar pill and they'll actually experience the side effects that drug is supposed to have, right? So there's a connection there. It's about a third of the time people will do this. And they of course, make effort to minimize the placebo effect because they want to show that their drug is better than placebo, right? So they'll interview people before the trial starts. And if they find somebody is susceptible to suggestions, they don't get asked to be in the trial. They get dismissed, right? So they take steps to make the outcome look better. So imagine if you were to tell somebody, now this couldn't be done because it'd be unethical, but what if you told somebody that in the clinical trial, hey, psst, let me tell you something. I know you're getting the real thing. And this drug is incredibly effective. What if you told people that? What would happen to the placebo effect then?
That's right.
Right? Now, it couldn't be done because that would be unethical. You'd be lying to people. But I suggest that we do all that we can to improve our health. And if the placebo effect is going to help, I'm not opposed to it. There's a great clinical, well, not a clinical trial, but I guess it was a clinical trial. Dr. Bruce Moseley was an arthroscopic knee surgeon.
Okay.
And he noticed that about 30% of his patients improved with his surgery. And he said, that's a lot like placebo. Why don't we do a study where we have a sham surgery, a placebo surgery? So people get in, they knew they might get the real surgery, they might not. But the people that got the placebo, he actually made an incision on their knee, and he swished some water down there with a lavage, made some noise. All the while, the patient was watching a video of someone else's knee surgery. Right? They didn't actually get the surgery. A year later, the people that got the sham surgery actually did better. They had more flexibility, and their pain was reduced by about the same amount as people that actually got the surgery.
That's just amazing.
It is amazing, right?
That is awesome.
So rather than just dismiss it as, it's just all in your mind, no, there's actually, Lissa Rankin wrote the book called Mind Over Medicine. And she talks about, no, there's real measurable impact. Bald men grow hair. Hormone levels change. Ulcers heal. This is not just, I think I feel better. It's not some relative thing. They can measure the placebo effect. I'm not afraid of it. Let's use everything to our advantage.
I think that's the important point. And that's why we include the prayer guide with the product, because we just want people to declare it, right? We want you to believe that's going to work. We want you to get in that mindset that this is going to help me. Because if you go into it with a critical mindset that says, this is woo-woo, this is dumb, this is not going to work, guess what? It's not going to work, right? Because you're setting yourself up for that failure. But if you set yourself up positively, guess what? That product's going to be much more effective for you. We know it works. It's helped hundreds and hundreds of people. We've got, just incredibly fun testimonials from people. One I love to share is a woman who's had a shoulder issue and problem for 10 years. She's been a casino card dealer, right? Doing this repetitive motion 8 hours a day for 20 years. For the last 10 years, she got chronic shoulder pain. And so she literally has to keep her shoulder close, and she has to move her body to do the motion. And she can't wear a purse on her shoulder because she can't keep it up. So the purse just falls off. She used our patch, and we were at a conference, and we had some samples. So gave her a sample. She came back an hour later, and she says, "Guess what?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, she lifted up her shoulder, and she's like, "I haven't been able to do that in 10 years." I was just like, "What? You're kidding me?" It was so cool because the smile on her face was just unbelievable. And then she came back the next day and said, "Rob," and I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Not only can I move my shoulder," she said, "but I slept for the first time in forever
Wow.
because great because when I rolled over, her shoulder wouldn't hurt,
Right.
and so she was able to finally sleep. So just getting some of those transformational stories where
That's
it's like
awesome.
literally, transforming a person's life just by putting a little patch on your
Yeah.
body
Do
is
you have a
just
patch for
phenomenal.
insomnia?
Yeah, we do. We have a sleep patch, right? And
Very
so
good. I
that
want to go
that
back to one
helps.
thing you mentioned there, Rob. You said that if you don't believe it, it won't work. But I would disagree with that. I think that you don't have to believe in it for it to work. But of
Right.
course, it would be better if you did,
Yeah, exactly. That's so
right?
fun. You don't need to be a believer in Christ, So we don't like really push that it's got the word of the Lord on the patches, and that we have a Bible prayer guide that goes with it because we want everybody to try it. Doesn't matter if you're an atheist or not. This product does help and will help.
Yes.
But at the same point, if you are, you're going to have a better chance of it working even more better for you. Is kind of the way I look at it because and it's my little sneaky goal is to get people to read the Word every day because I want them to say that prayer every day. But then by reading the Word every day, they're going to be communicating with the Lord, and who's the ultimate healer, right?
Absolutely. He's our
Not
Jehovah
me,
Rapha,
right?
the Lord our
Yeah,
healer.
exactly. So I want the Lord to heal people because they made that intentional decision to say that prayer today, and the Lord may honor them with healing. And
Yeah.
man, how cool would that be that my little prodding of providing them a prayer guide and having thousands and thousands of people saying a daily prayer is going to start healing people. Man, that's worth all the money in the world to me to
Well, I
create
want to
this
say this
company
part
to
too
help
is
people.
it's not the patch that healed the casino dealer's arm. It's the God given wisdom. It's God that
Yeah,
healed her,
there you
right?
go.
It's God that
There you
gave her
go.
body the wisdom to overcome that. You just help remove an obstacle, right? So,
There you go.
yeah,
Yep.
that's the naturopathic approach to health.
There you
So,
go.
I
I
got
love
another
it.
question for you. What type of condition are the patches best suited for?
Like, what do you mean? Like, what? I would say
Well, are
chronic
they? Is it just
issues.
pain, or are there other things? Anxiety, depression,
Oh yeah.
those types of
Sorry.
things
That
treated as
yeah.
well?
Yeah, that's the great thing. We literally have 14 different products. So we have a pain relief product that's the marquee one. But then we have allergy relief product. We have an anti-anxiety product. We have a clarity and focus product. We have, like you mentioned, the sleep and refresh
Okay.
product. We've got a pre-menopausal, a post-menopausal product. We have a strength and stamina one. It really helps with elderly people as they're slowing down a
Hmm.
little bit. And then we have the pet one that I love. It's called Pep and Pain. And the cool thing about the pet one is we have a little dog collar. We put this little medallion on the dog collar, and we put the patch on the dog the pet tag is really what it is.
Wow.
And that by putting that patch on the pet tag, it connects to the dog's energy system. And then there's a lot of dogs with shoulder and arthritis issues, and as they age, and the product really helps them have a little more energy, and they don't feel the pain as much. And so it's
Wow,
been
that's really cool.
phenomenal to see the change in the dogs.
That's really cool. I
Any
love it.
pet, really,
Yeah,
but
that's really
it's
cool.
really
'Cause, yeah,
fun.
when your pet starts to get old, it's hard to watch, and they're
Yeah.
especially near the end,
Yeah,
the
our
last year or
German Shepherd
so.
literally just ended up having some back and hip issues, and he's just been such a wonderful, incredible dog. And to see him struggle all of a sudden, just it just
Yeah,
happened just like that, and it's like,
yeah,
oh no, the poor guy, because they don't know what's happening, right? They just know they
right.
can't move the way they used to move. It's just
Yeah,
so sad to
yeah. It
see,
is
but
sad. Yeah, it is. Get so attached to them.
yeah,
But
amen.
so anyway, I want to ask you this question, Rob. What do you know today that you wish you knew when you first got started in natural health?
Gosh, that is so amazing of a question. Just because I could probably mention 10 different things, but I think just I'm going to say two things because I think they're both important. One is I think that our body is made up of energy and it can interact with external things, right? If you have that foundational understanding, then the world opens up to you because there's so many other things that you can use to help you. And then the other one is just inside. There's so many toxins within our body that I didn't understand and realize that if you can clean up the inside of your body and get it the base back to the base level where God made it, then you can make incredible transformations. So I would say those two things are the things that I wish I would have known a long time ago.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So I know you're starting a podcast. Tell us about your new podcast.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's called I Am Pain Free. Because I really, that's a
Love the
big
title.
mission of mine, is to help people. It's a
Love
cool
the name.
title, right? And the subtitle is Naturally and Faithfully. So originally, I'm not going to bring faith really into the discussion early, because I want it to be just welcome anybody and everybody that's dealing with pain. And I'm interviewing these amazing practitioners who are helping people naturally, right? And just with like I mentioned, the toxicity. I did an interview with Dr. Edward Group, and he owns a company called Global Healing, and his company is amazing. And that's where he talked.
He is
a
one
lot
smart
about,
guy. I know Dr. Group. He is one smart dude.
He is, and he's so phenomenal. And his mission is to help people understand that the toxins are both external and internal, right? So there's, like we talked about, the EMF stuff, and just external frequencies. There's bad ones, right? So we need to get rid of the bad ones from an external perspective. The environment, there's lots of smog, and there's lots of things that are bad for you.
Right.
But then internally, we get lots of parasites, and we get all sorts of. We eat horribly. We have our food has been modified, and so you start looking at the toxins inside your body and the toxins outside your body, and you start healing both. And man, your life, you can transform in a big way. So it's been just fun. So that's the podcast. And I've interviewed some amazing practitioners, and I'm even meeting with people who have nothing to do with a health perspective, and are more just, hey, I had pain and I no longer have pain, and how did I do it? So trying to do some transformational stories as well as just helping people. And then,
So has the show started yet, or do you have a launch date?
it's launching. When is this show typically will air?
This is going to probably go live sometime in March.
Okay, sounds good. So it'll be launched by then. The show is active, and the cool thing about it, just if you're interested in some of the things that I'm working on, text pain free. So grab your phone real quick. Text pain free to 417-246-3733. So again, it's 417-246-3733. And what that's going to do is I'm going to give you access to a private podcast that I've done, where I've interviewed these special doctors, and we have 3 episodes that are really going to help you transform your health. And I have lots of resources there for you that talk about how to get pain free. And it's totally free, and it's just great resources to help you. So
Love it. And the name of the podcast again? One more time.
I Am Pain Free.
Love it. All right, so Rob, I know your website is qestrong.com, and if someone wants to go there and buy some patches, I know you have an attractive deal for them.
Yeah, the awesome thing is we can give you 15% discount, right? So you can go to qestrong.com, and then when you find the products you want, they're already discounted based upon the actual number of product that you buy. But then when you check out, use the coupon code NATURAL. And when you use natural, it's going to give you an extra 15% off of anything in our store. So that's a big blessing. So do that, qestrong.com, use coupon code natural.
Thank you. And full disclosure, that is my affiliate link, and I will receive a small commission from that transaction, but you won't pay anymore.
It's a blessing for everybody, right? It's a blessing. We get 15% off if you use the code. It helps your show, and obviously we're helping people try to spread the word of the Lord and get people healthy using our products.
It's a win-win for everybody. Rob, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, God bless you, sir. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. For more, go to the show notes page at christianhealthylifestyle.com/145. There you can get in touch with Rob, and you can find links to all the resources that we mentioned, as well as a whole lot more. Has your get up and go got up and gone? Nutrient deficiencies are a part of the problem. In an ideal world, we get all our nutrients from our food. But today, because of things such as environmental toxins and stress, our nutrient requirements have never been more demanding. And because of commercial farming practices, our food supply has never been more compromised. Well, that's a 1-2 punch that produces daily nutrition that has the potential to fall critically short of our needs. That's why I recommend filling in the gaps with strategic supplementation. Remember, when it comes to supplements, purity and potency matter. Stop wasting money on products that don't deliver. Or worse yet, some low-quality products can actually do more harm than good. Now, in the past, access to high-quality supplements was only available at a functional medicine practitioner's office. Now, through my relationship with FullScript, you can gain access to thousands of professional-grade products, third-party tested for potency and purity, all delivered directly to your door. Pause this episode and go to my website, davidsandstrom.com/FullScript, create an account, and you'll lock in a 10% discount for life. And free shipping on orders over $50. Remember, you get discount pricing and I get a small commission. So when you make a purchase with FullScript, you'll be supporting the show and supporting your health and wellness at the same time. It's a win-win. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Remember, go out there and show up as the best version of yourself. That's it for now. I'll talk with you next time. Be blessed.